are covering. So we're going to do a recording and we're going to share this recording. Objectives: number one, we'll teach you how to inspect, investigate, participate, and function in health and safety. That's the first part. Right, let's get into understanding health and safety. Now, when we are looking at health and safety, remember, health and safety is done in a business. Health and safety is done at a workplace. So in a workplace, there is what we call the elements of a business. There is what we call the elements of a business. Elements of a business, we are simply saying that every business has got certain things that must be there for it to function well. Number one, every business has people, that is men, people. Health and safety comes in to try and make sure that men, this is men not as in Obaba, but men as in both men and women, men power. So health and safety is important at the workplace because it comes in to protect the people at the workplace. And in this course, we are going to teach you how to ensure that people are safe at the workplace. Number two element of a business is every business or any company you work for will have money. And if health and safety is not done in a company will lose lots of money. For instance, there are what we call fines and penalties. Module 2 and 3, I'll be sharing with you the law, what is called the Occupational Health and Safety Act. The Occupational Health and Safety Act, section 37, section 38, that if health and safety is not implemented at the workplace, there are fines and penalties. And these fines and penalties can be any amount up to 50,000 rands, or someone can go to jail for even a year. So when health and safety is not implemented in a business, money is lost. Money is lost. So this course is very, very important because it ensures that people are safe. It ensures that money is not lost in a business. But in a business, there is also methods. Methods were looking at the way people work. Health and safety has to be incorporated into the way people work. And what we are saying here is that we need to teach you what we call safe work methods. Safe work methods. When people are working, which is the safe way of functioning? That's what we'll be looking at. We'll look at materials, how materials should not affect people. For instance, in any company, some companies, they use chemicals. That's part of materials. And those chemicals, if they are not handled properly, they can affect the health and safety of people. There is machinery. We have heard of people who have been injured, and we want to ensure that there are less injuries at the workplace. And lastly, health and safety ensures that management doesn't go to jail. When people do not do health and safety properly, there is a possibility of jail time. Like I told you, Section 38 of the Health and Safety Act tells us that there are fines and penalties, and fines and penalties to people, it can be any amount up to 50,000 or up to 1 year imprisonment. And then to management of a company, the fine or penalty can go up to 100,000 rands or 2 years imprisonment. So health and safety comes in to protect the elements of a business. That is where you'll be working or where you are working. Health and safety comes in to ensure that the work is done safely and done properly, and that's important. Now, I want to introduce you to what we call the scope of losses. When health and safety is not implemented properly at the workplace, there is loss. Major loss happens. And these are some of the losses which happen. Number one, when health and safety is not done well at the workplace, people become ill. When health and safety is not done well, people will be injured. If health and safety is not done well, people will abscond and not come to work. When health and safety is not done well, there can be fires and explosion. When health and safety is not done well, insurance of the companies can go higher. So health and safety comes in as an important tool, ladies and gentlemen, in ensuring that people are safe, people don't get sick, people don't get injured. That is why health and safety is important. So every company in South Africa, it is forced by law to implement health and safety systems. That is why it's important for you to have this course as one of the certificates. Because some of you attend interviews and you have the same qualification as the next person. But when they look at you and they see that you have additional knowledge, additional expertise, additional understanding on things to do with health and safety, that can give you what we call in business a competitive edge. It will make you a better candidate because you understand health and safety. Whoever is interviewing you, especially from HR in a company, they know without a shadow of doubt that health and safety ibalulekile. So they will give you favorable marks and favorable eye towards you who has an understanding, because when health and safety is implemented properly, it reduces local SCT scope of loss in a company. Scope of loss. Now I'll give you a simple example. A few years ago, there's a mine in Mpumalanga, Bati Lily mine. You heard about it in the news. That mine collapsed and 3 people died. When those 3 people died, there was a cave-in. And when that cave-in happened, they couldn't rescue those people and they died. And what was the issue? It was a health and safety issue. It was a health and safety issue where people not only became sick or injured, but they actually died. So it's important that we implement health and safety, have an understanding, because there is a very, very huge cost associated with the lack of health and safety in a company. Now, when health and safety is not implemented, people get injured. And in this course, we'll teach you how to ensure that you reduce injuries at the workplace, how you can facilitate it. But at this point in time, can I introduce you to what we call the cost of an incident? Now, every time you hear that someone got injured at the workplace, every time you hear that someone got hurt at the workplace, there is a possibility and there is a chance that that person got injured in such a manner that there are costs associated with that incident. In industry, we generally say every time someone gets injured, the cost of an incident, the cost of an injury is nothing less than 3,000 rands. So every time someone gets injured at the workplace, there are costs. Number one, there are medical costs. When we take someone to the hospital for treatment, they will charge us. Number two, there are wages, whereby someone has to be paid wages. While they are at home, getting better, they are still being paid. That's a cost. When someone gets injured, someone has to come and do overtime or cover up for them at the workplace. That's a cost. And we call these the visible costs. And this visible cost is just what we call a tip of an iceberg. There are other costs which are what we call hidden costs. When someone gets injured at the workplace, they have to go to the doctor and they have to be rehabilitated. They have to be transported to the hospital. Maybe they were carrying a laptop and the laptop fell, or machinery got damaged. There are repairs which have to be done. Production stops. Sometimes there are legal fees. Sometimes we have to do investigations. All of these things listed here have to happen when an incident happens, and all of these things are costly. So when health and safety is not implemented properly, emsebenzini, we understand that it is very, very costly. So this course will come in just to give you the understanding on health and safety, help you know these things so that you are better equipped and you add value to whichever company you'll be working at. And that's what we'll be covering. Now, let's now get into health and safety and see what we can learn. Now, like I said earlier on, colleagues, that the idea of a health and safety course is to avoid what? Incidents and accidents. Incidents and accidents. Incidents and accidents is when people get injured at the workplace. For instance, maybe someone trips and falls. They hit themselves at the corner of a table and they injure their head. That's an injury. Another incident is when someone cuts their hand with a machine. That's an incident. Another incident is when someone is on a ladder, they can fall and injure themselves. That's another incident. All of these are incidents that happen at the workplace. Now, the idea of health and safety is to come up with systems to reduce and avoid incidents at the workplace. Now, what is an incident so that we understand it correctly so that we know it and understand it, so that when we now avoid it and we now deal with it, we know what we're talking about. An incident, by definition, as you can see here, it's an undesired event caused by an unsafe behavior or an unsafe condition which could lead or which can result in illness, injury, damage, or loss. Now, when you are at work, one of the things that will happen is there will be incidents. And an incident is when an undesired event, no one desired an incident or an accident, so which happens at the workplace, and it is caused by two things: unsafe behaviors. Whenever someone gets injured at the workplace, the cause is unsafe behaviors or unsafe conditions. And I'll explain these things. And every time incident happens, it leads to illness, injury, damage, or time loss. So our role in health and safety, the duty in health and safety, is to come up with systems and come up with ways to ensure that we avoid incidents and accidents. That's the main assignment. And that's what we're trying to do. There is the incident ratio. I'll cover it on the next class on module 2 and 3. Let me skip these 3 slides here. We'll cover them in the next one. Now, when we're talking about unsafe behaviors, as I spoke about them, unsafe behaviors, they are the ones that cause the most incidents at the workplace. Then there are unsafe conditions, and then there are what we call uncontrollable. Unsafe behaviors, these are the actions which are done by people which cause accidents. And your role in health and safety is to ensure that people don't do unsafe behaviors. For instance, maybe let me ask here in class, what do you think, guys, is an unsafe behavior that can cause umuntu ukuthi alimale emsebenzini? What is an unsafe behavior which can cause someone to be injured? Anyone, go ahead, open your mic and speak, and let's talk. What do you think is an unsafe behavior? Yes, ma'am?
To come to work and you are drunk.
100%. Coming to work drunk. Yeah, that is why some companies actually at the entrance of the gate, they make you blow on a machine to test if you are drunk or not. Because if you come to work drunk, your reaction time is low. You are not seeing properly, you are not thinking properly, and it can lead to injuries. Thank you very much for that. Anyone else? Any other unsafe behavior which you think can cause injuries?
Not wearing the proper workwear or safety shoes or boots.
Yes, not wearing PPE like safety shoes, boots, gloves. Thank you very much. Yes, Baba, you wanted to say something? Go ahead.
We can say horseplay.
Horseplay, very, very important. Horseplay ikudlala, whereby you are playing with each other and you are playing dangerously. For instance, someone is playing with a knife and saying, hey, zokwaza wena. You know, that's horseplay. And you accidentally stab a person.
While in the building at work.
Please repeat that, ma'am.
Carrying weapons around the building while at work.
Yes, other people carry weapons, knives, OCAP, or others, they come with even a firearm. That is why in some companies, they will ask you to declare if you have a firearm or not. And they'll ask you to leave a firearm in a safe at the gate. And that's important. Any other unsafe behavior which can cause injuries and illnesses and even death? Anyone else?
Yes, not observing the demarcations around the building.
Yes, not observing demarcations. So in the building, there are demarcations which tell you walk here, and even signage which tells you wear PPE, do this, do that. Those are unsafe behaviors. Then there are what we call unsafe conditions. They are also contributing. And then there is uncontrollable or freak. Now, these ones, we call them acts of God. These are beyond anyone's control. For instance, when someone is struck by lightning, it's an uncontrollable one. There's nothing you can do. But these are the causes of incidents and accidents. So if we don't implement safety properly, number one, there are injuries. As you can see from the picture here, someone can get injured seriously. They can get injured and it can be a big problem. Number two, not only injuries, there can be time loss. Time loss. It can be an issue which can lead to the workplace, because whenever someone gets injured, what happens? Work stops. Work stops. Whenever someone gets injured, work stops and there is time loss. Whenever someone gets injured, there can be fires, or whenever health and safety is not implemented, there can be fires and what? Explosion. We have heard of fires that have burnt, let's say in Joburg Central there, where you hear that there was a fire in a building, and you hear that no, health and safety was not done properly. So health and safety, for it to be safe, a place to be safe, it has to be implemented, because it may lead to explosions and fires. Health and safety, if it is not implemented properly, there can be disabilities. You have heard of people who are now in a wheelchair for life because they fell from a ladder and they injured their back. That's a lack of implementing health and safety. This picture you are seeing here is a picture of a broken arm. Someone who broke their arm and they are now disabled for life. For life. So health and safety has to be implemented properly. And sadly, if health and safety is not implemented properly, there can be death. There can be death. So we need to ensure that health and safety is implemented properly, so as to ensure that people don't get injured and don't get to die. So this course, ladies and gentlemen, will help us have a full understanding of all of those things. Now let's go to part 3. I won't dwell much on part 3 here, because on the second module 3, 2 and 3, that's where we'll look at the law in detail. And in health and safety, there is a law which we use, is called the Occupational Health and Safety Act. Now, this is the structure of the law when it comes to health and safety. There are 3 elements. Number 1, we have got what we call the OHS Act, SCTE, Occupational Health and Safety Act. Now, in health and safety, we have a law just like any other sector. You know, in South Africa, when it comes to workplace, we have what we call the Labor Relations Act. When it comes to tax, there is a law concerning tax. When it comes to driving on the roads, there is the Traffic Act. When it comes to the environment, we have the National Environmental Management Act. When it comes to housing and buildings, there is the Building Act. Everything has got an act. Everything has got an act. Now, health and safety also, colleagues, has got an act which we have to comply with. So every company has to comply with what is called the Occupational Health and Safety Act. And what we are going to do is in module 2 and 3, which is the link to the YouTube video, which we'll send on Thursday, I will talk in detail and take you through the Health and Safety Act. And there are a few other regulations which we use in health and safety. We'll teach you on that. These are some of the regulations as corner we health and safety. We have got, for instance, facilities regulations. Everywhere where there are toilets, lockers, and sitting, kunomthetho or a law, a regulation called the facilities regulation, which says how the toilets should be like, which says that they should be clean and all and all. We've got what we call environmental regulations. Environmental regulations, they tell us about temperature of buildings and places. They tell us about lighting. They govern issues to do with noise. You know, they tell us the PPE to wear, etc. There are regulations to do with machinery, regulations to do with electricity, regulations to do with hazardous chemicals. All of these, colleagues, are regulations in health and safety. And in this health and safety course, we'll teach you all of these things and you'll have an understanding of them. And that's very, very important. Now, where you are going to work in a company where they are required to do health and safety management. And most likely there will be a health and safety management system. And this health and safety management system will be run by a health and safety committee. So we're going to teach you how to be part of a health and safety committee, what is expected of you, and that's very, very important. Now, these 3 slides I want to skip. You'll see them on module 2, and you will learn that there. Let me go to this part, which looks at the hazards and what to do in the event of an incident. Right. One of the things which is important, colleagues, is to know what to do in the event of something happening. I'll use this using your example at your own home, at your own house, and probably at our church as an example. Now, here we're saying that it is a legal requirement that every premise, every place, every workplace, people must know what to do in the event of. For instance, number 1, in the event of someone getting sick or getting injured, there must be knowledge. What are we going to do? For instance, in the event that someone at your house cuts their finger at the kitchen while they are cooking, do you have first aid, a small first aid box? And do you know how to give first aid? It's part of health and safety. Now, in this particular course, we are just doing basic OHS. In the next round of trainings, probably in 2 or 3 months' time, we'll be doing a course on first aid, whereby we'll do the training at church, teach you how to do first aid. It's an important skill. Into efana first aid is not just good for the workplace, but it's a life skill. Because when someone collapses, when someone gets injured, you need to know what to do and how to assist that particular person. And that's very, very important. So we are saying here, in health and safety, you must know what to do in the event of disease or injury. You must know what to do in the event of a serious injury where it's recordable, where you have to take someone to the doctor or request compensation. Under health and safety law, Bazali, there is what we call COITA, which is compensation of occupational injuries and diseases. When someone gets injured at the workplace, they are entitled to compensation. As long as it is an injury on duty, they are entitled to compensation. And it's an important thing, ngoba baningi abantu who get injured, who get disabled, who get sick, who even die, and their dependents do not get a cent. But there is an act and there is a law which says people must be compensated. And you need to know what to do, where to go when this happens. And that's very, very important. And it's one of the things which we are going to be teaching you. We need to know what to do in the event of injury and disease and damage. We need to know what to do in the event of a major incident. When there is a major fire at your house, what do you do? How do you extinguish that fire? How do you deal with that situation? And you must be able to do something. So we'll teach you all of those things. And that's very, very important. Because in health and safety, you must be prepared. And you must be able to know what to do in the event that something important happens. Now, as I'm finishing up the first part, I want you to be aware of the rights of employees. Now, umthetho ka-Health and Safety under Section 14 of the Health and Safety Act, which is what we'll look at on Thursday, the employees have got rights. And one of the rights of employees under health and safety is all employees have a right to be informed and to be trained. So every employee has a right to be safe at work. And every employee has a right to be trained. And it's important that you know that people must be trained. People must be trained on how to do their job. People must be trained on how to be safe at work. And people must be trained on how to avoid the hazards and risks associated with their workplace. Training is important. Lilungelo is their right. So health and safety is not a privilege. Health and safety is not a comfort. It is a right. Every employee has a right to be safe. But there are also employee duties. When people are working at a company, they have a duty to look after themselves. Every employee has a duty to look after themselves and to look after others. So health and safety is not the duty of the employer only. It's not the duty of umqashi. No, the health and safety is also the duty of the employee as well. Employees have to look after themselves. Employees have to cooperate with the employer. Employees have to carry out lawful orders. Employees have to what? Obey health and safety rules. And employees have to report if they see something which is unhealthy. And that's very, very important. So when it comes to health and safety, we learn that employees have a duty also when it comes to health and safety, so as to make sure that they are safe and they are without risk. And that's very, very important and very, very critical. Right. Before I move on to the next part, any questions, Bazali? Are we together? Any questions concerning what we have covered so far? Is there anyone who's saying, I am lost here, I'm not understanding? Or, hey, you said something there, I did not understand it. What were you talking about, Vel? Are we on the same page, Bazali? Babu Singh, I see your hand is up. Is that a question, or you are saying, hi, Yonkinti, right? Are we good, everyone? I see people are saying.
You're right. You're right.
Perfect. Siyabong. Right. The next session I want to look at right now, I want to look at the aspect of hazards and risks. That's the last part, which we'll look at in today's session. We want to look at the issue of hazards and risks, which is our part 4. The other part we'll look at on the other modules. Right, on part 4, we are looking at the topic of hazard identification and risk assessment. Now, when it comes to issues to do with health and safety, one of the things which we need to do is to identify risks. A risk is something that can injure people. A risk is something that can cause harm to a person. So under health and safety, one of our duties is to ensure that we identify hazards and risks. And that's what I want to look at in the last 15 minutes. Our time is around 15:15. I promised you that at 7:30 we'll be done, and we keep time. We believe in keeping time, so we'll keep our time. So 15 minutes and then I'll conclude. This is the last part. Hazard identification and risk assessments. Now, under health and safety, colleagues, one of the important roles in health and safety is to identify hazards, identify risks, identify things that can injure people. That's what we are looking at. That's what I want to look at right now. Now, at the workplace, your job is to identify what are the things that are dangerous. What is danger? Danger is anything that can cause injury or damage to a person. When you are a person who is in charge of health and safety, you have a duty to identify the things that can cause danger. And you identify them and you remove them. Your job is to identify hazards. What is a hazard? A hazard is a source of exposure or a source of danger. And I hope you are listening, Bazali Ngoba. These questions will be asked of you in a test. And you'll have to answer these questions. But ngenhlanhla ngoba singabazalwane, i-test leyo, it will be an open book test, so don't worry, don't be afraid. But we'll give you difficult questions because it's open book. And the questions, I can assure you, they'll be tough because it's open book, because we need you to understand so that when we give you the certificate and when you graduate, we know that ngempela high, you graduated on something that you are aware. And remember, colleagues, the pass rate is 75%. If you get 74%, you are not graduating. I'll tell you next. Even if you used your data to attend class, even if you came on Sunday, unfortunately, it's not Bishop Singh who's giving you the training and who's giving you the certificate. It's a different company called Tashi. They are going to mark the exam and they are the ones who issue the certificates. They don't know you. They don't know Bishop. They don't know Senior Pastor Donald. They don't know me. So they won't have mercy because it's just like a test going to UNISA. The invigilator does not know you. The examiner does not know you. So please pay attention and remember these definitions. A hazard is a source of danger. A source of danger is anything that can injure a person. And in health and safety, your job is to identify hazards, identify sources of danger, identify things that are risky and that can injure people. What are the examples of things that are sources of danger? Let's look at them here. I'll give them to you quickly. Here are health hazards. Number one, chemicals. When you're at the workplace, umsebenzi wakho is to look for chemicals and check where are the chemicals stored. Are they stored safely? Are they not going to injure people? You look for places where there's dust. That is why we want workplaces to be clean. Dust causes lung problems, lung function issues. We check that. These are hazards. Check for gases. Check if people, when they are carrying things, are they lifting correctly? Check for dirt. We don't want dirty workplaces, dirty homes, dirty churches, dirty places. Every place must be clean. I know at our church, if you arrive at our church at around 8:15, 8:30 there, you'll see people cleaning, because dirt, if a place is dirty, it causes diseases. It affects health. These are health hazards. Fumes, they affect people's health. Incorrect posture and poor lighting. All of these are things that can affect the health of people, and our job in health and safety is to identify these hazards and make sure that we deal with them and make sure that people are safe. What other health hazards are there? Poisons. Smoke is a hazard. Temperature, when it's too cold or too hot, it's a hazard. Vibrating machinery is a hazard. Noise. When noise is above 85 decibels, noise is measured in what we call decibels. And when noise is above 85 decibels, we'll show you in module 6 what noise levels of 85 decibels is like. But we don't want that. Radiation, stress, and fatigue. Stress is a health hazard. When you're too tired and too fatigued, it's a health hazard. And we want to make sure that people are safe at work. Then there are what we call safety hazards. When it comes to health and safety, the other thing which we identify are what we call safety hazards. We identify safety hazards. Very, very important thing to what? To identify safety hazards. What are safety hazards which are there? Things that burn, fires, stoves, and things that are too cold. They are safety hazards. Confined space, electricity, hlakas. You can be electrocuted and die. So safety is a hazard there. We have to make sure that you are right when working with electricity. And that's one of the things which we'll cover in this course. Explosions and fires, mechanical devices and tools and equipment. These are some of the what? Safety hazards. And we are going to touch on all of these. Other safety hazards which you look at the workplace to make sure that people are safe is transportation, people who do welding, people who are working at heights, anyone who works above 2 meters. It's called working at heights. And we have to make sure that that person is safe and they are wearing the right PPE. And then there is housekeeping. Housekeeping simply means a place must be clean and everything must be placed where it's supposed to be placed. That's housekeeping. Housekeeping means everything must be in its place and there must be a place for everything. So this is what we expect of you. Very, very important. So as we are about to finalize, when you are doing health and safety inspections, as a health and safety person, these are things which you are inspecting. You are checking for hygiene. So those of us who go to airport ministries, on Sunday, we'll do, or those of all of us, when we come to church on Sunday for the lesson, we're going to do hygiene inspections, where we go and inspect our toilets to see that, are they hygienic? Because if toilets are not hygienic, people can get sick. We check for chemicals. Where are they stored? We check for our electricals. Are all our plugs and sockets safe for use? We check economics. We'll do this in module 5. Economics speaks of your body posture. We don't want you to have back problems because you are not all right. We're going to look at all of these things. All of these are inspections which we do, and we'll give you checklists and you are going to do checklists, and that's important. As I'm concluding here, at the workplace, colleagues, when you are doing inspections, this is what you'll be looking at. Number one, we inspect buildings to check, is the building all right? Are there cracks on the wall? Is everything all right in the building? Is everything safe? That's what we'll be checking. We'll be checking stacking and storage to see that things which are being stored, are they stored safely? There's nothing that will just collapse. That's what we'll be inspecting. We'll be inspecting machinery. We'll be inspecting chemicals. We'll be inspecting where do we throw away our waste management. We'll be looking at that. That's a part of health and safety. We'll be checking signage to see that is there the right signage at our premises. That's important. We'll be checking are people wearing the PPE which they have to wear. That's critical. Those are all health and safety inspections. We'll be checking the fire extinguishers. Do we have the fire extinguishers? Are they serviced? Are they serviced all right? That's important. All of these are things which we'll be checking. We'll be checking that are people not coming with funny appliances. You know, people come with heaters which are not safe. Or I've seen some security guards who put, you know, that ring of a stove and they put it on a stinner, on a brick, so as to be warm overnight. We'll be checking to see that are the appliances which people bring to work safe. Just checking the electricals, you know, just to check that are the electrical gadgets used properly. We'll be looking at DB boards to see that are they all right? Are they numbered? Are they labeled? Is everything electrical done right the first time? That's what we'll be looking at in health and safety. All of these things, where chemicals are delivered, are they delivered properly and rightly? We'll be looking at that. Where their machines, are they protected? Are they guarded? Like this machine over here, it should have guards over there protecting it. And that's very, very important. So we'll be checking all mechanical components. If there are gas bottles, like you can see over there, are the gas bottles protected? Are they safe? And then are they all right? That's what we'll be looking at. And all of these things are critical things that we look at in health and safety. If there are people who are working at heights, as we can see, this person here is working at heights on a scaffold. We'll check, is the scaffold safe? Is the scaffold erected by a competent person? Is the person wearing safety harnesses? All of those things are elements and components of health and safety. We'll do the aspect of inspecting tools to see that do people know how to inspect tools? Are tools safe? They are not having some marker plan tools and funny tools where your Bobo Jan Spanela is a funny one. We want proper things which are safe and without risk. All of these things is what we'll be looking at. We'll be looking at mechanical and even transportation or moving of goods. Here is a forklift. Forklifts have to be inspected, have to be checked, and we'll be looking at all of these elements so as to make sure that people are safe at the workplace. All of this, ladies and gentlemen, is what we'll be looking at from module 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and 7. We'll be looking at issues to do with occupational hygiene. We'll identify hazards there to see that are people safe at the workplace and are they all right and are they good. We'll look at ergonomics, which looks at the chairs. Are people given the right chairs, which are safe for use, which are okay? That's what we'll be looking at when it comes to health and safety. We'll be looking at hygiene issues to say that our hygiene place is safe. Excuse me, because what we don't want is people getting sick and contracting diseases because of poor hygiene. And it's an important part of health and safety, and that's very critical. We're going to look at issues to do with emergency safety, procedures, and PPE to say that are people given the right PPE at the workplace? Do you know all the types of PPE? We'll teach you all the types of PPE, from gloves to apron to eye protection, hearing protection, safety shoes, Conti suits, everything to do with personal protective clothing as well as personal protective equipment. All of those things are the things that we'll be looking at the workplace just to make sure that everyone is safe. We're going to look at issues to do with storage. As you can see from this picture, these are chemicals which are poorly stored poorly. And this is a risk and a hazard where fires can start easily and it can be a problem. And that's what we'll be looking at. And that's very, very important. We'll look at fire protection to see that our fire extinguishers serviced, are they working very well? And is everyone safe and without risk? And can people use fire extinguishers? We'll do another course later on when you do first aid. We'll do it together with firefighting, teach you how to use a fire extinguisher, and that's what we'll do. So as people, you can be equipped with that. We'll look at issues to do with training and cover all of that, and that is important. Right, that's what we want to cover concerning this particular aspect. Are we together, colleagues? Does it make sense? Are we on the same page?
Yes.
Anyone with any questions? Ngiyazwakala?
Yes.
100%. Now, let me conclude. I'm left with 5 minutes here, and let's conclude it. Like I said, we keep time. We do things right. We are professional, even as a church. We want to do things properly. Conclusion for today. Today, ladies and gentlemen, was just an introduction, just touching on the surface, just giving you an understanding of what we'll be looking at. And just to make sure you understand what is health and safety, its importance in relation to the workplace, and how it adds value to the workplace. And that's very, very important. As we are concluding, Bazali, anyone with any questions concerning what we have touched on? Can we mute our mics? Let's mute our mics so that we don't disturb the class. Let's mute our mics. Any questions, Bazali? As we are concluding here, this is part 1 or module 1. We're doing just the introduction, just to make sure that we are all on the same page. Now, I am going to take screenshots of the class, and